Before we get into the salts provided by me and the pepper provided by the gun, I'd just like to give a quick thank you to Texas Weeds, also known as Punkout on Twitter, for dropping me off the plans, because I haven't had the greatest opportunity to farm the Meat Week event, but through the generosity of my community and the Fallout 76 community at large has allowed me to craft this thing and have fun with it. So thank you very much, I appreciate it, I owe you one. G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is a pepper shaker with some legendary effects. Not very good ones. I did 5 or 6 rolls, and this is the best that I got. So, by all intents and purposes, this is basically a stock pepper shaker, because these things don't really synergize well with it. Instigating is going to do barely anything, because the damage at this point is, like nothing. The extra limb damage is going to be useless because this thing being a shotgun and heavy gun hybrid, we can both use Enforcer and one gun army with the multiple projectiles per shot. We should be able to cripple things super easily. The agility is good for VATS, but this thing's got a high VATS count anyway, and we're going to be using it in power armor, so we don't have all of the unyielding boosting our agility and derived stats from the AP there, but yeah, just a stock looking pepper shake. We've got the hex barrel though. I'll go through all the modifications before we get into the damage and all the modifying things. So I've decided to go with the hex barrel to have the rate of fire the highest it can go. We do get slightly more damage out of the dual barrel here, but it's like barely anything, and we lose a lot of DPS in the fire rate here. The single barrel is interesting because it says it fires more pellets per shot. I think it fires 16 pellets. Now, when you're doing that much damage spread between 16 pellets, you're going to be doing, just a quick calculation in my head, fuck all with all of your things. Now, there's a couple of utility things you can have. Potentially, you could say, well, it's good for crippling because we're firing so many projectiles and pellets, and yeah, that's okay. Or if you're using a medics variant or vampires variant, you're basically unkillable. But there's weapons already out there that make you unkillable already, and there's plenty of good crippling weapons that don't take up this much weight in your inventory. So the combat shotgun, if you've got a Gatling laser with fire rate and vampires, Ultra Sight version if you want, that'll keep you pretty much alive. So it's kind of a thing. I don't really see the point of using this thing, but obviously this being a weapon from Meat Week, it's more like a novelty, like the Tenderizer. So I'm not going to hold it to a much higher standard here. It's just, you know, it is what it is, right? There's nothing too great about it. It doesn't really stand out too much. So what are we looking at here? Well, the handle's new, but the rest of this chassis kind of looks like a minigun. It's cut off here. Bit of rebar on it. The super mutants are attacking my house. Is kind of annoying. Although the handle seems to be a little bit more different than a minigun, but it looks like that. Maybe, I dare say, Gauss minigun. Anyway, it's an ugly piece of work. That's all we need to know. For the magazine, you get standard, which fires just standard shotgun pellets. You get the laser one, which fires hit scan projectiles with a little bit of energy damage. The plasma one doesn't do any damage, any more damage. You use a much more expensive and hard to find round type, and the projectiles are plasma, so they're not there instantly. The laser is the way to go on this. Don't use anything else, which means you're going to be using fusion cells, which up until now, a strength-based build really didn't have a use for. So if you just like holding on to like a billion fusion cells, you've got a use for them at least. And we've got a gunner sight. It's actually not really particularly well aligned, actually. See. Anyway, so I'm going to chuck on some perks, and then we're going to kill the super mutants outside, because they're starting to get on my nerves now. Now, like I said before, this thing is a hybrid of a shotgun and a heavy gun. So you'll find that if you apply all these perks, let's see, what am I missing here? I had this all worked out before, but I got to chase down all these perks. That's no... Put 3 in that, or will I? Maybe 1. There we go. So we've got to fill up all of our perks with damage perks, which is kind of stupid because it limits you from using stuff like bullet shield, blocker, heavy, not heavy kind of way using that. Lock and load would be another one too, because this thing reloads slow, but you don't want to miss out on damage, so we've grabbed all of these. Skeet Shooter also works as a shotgun, like I said before. Enforcer, one gun army, they work. You've got Bloody Mess going, quick hands, ricochet. For tanking, it works with stabilized too, so power armor, jump in there, and you get yourself a little bit of armor penetration, which is very useful for a weapon. that has this low damage, spreading it between all of these projectiles. Now, Mr. Super Mutant, I'm going to kick your ass. Take your fucking puny little pipe gun and shove it up your ass. Okay, that did a little bit better than I thought. Fair play. What are you looking at, mate? There's the reload animation, by the way. We're going to jump in power armor now and we'll sort the rest of these dudes out. Okay, so here we are at the Graham cloning facility, and with tenderizer, no, this is stabilize and skeet shoot at the same time. You can tell that the spread has been quite massively reduced there, which means I can shoot from back here and... Alright then. Apparently this thing does do good damage despite having completely stock legendary effects. I mean, I guess you could make the argument that Instigating is doing something here. Just let me reload for a second, mate. Thank you. Noticing that this thing has a very long spin-up time, which doesn't lend itself well to any spin-up weapon in Fallout 76, because as soon as you let go of the trigger, you're sitting there holding the trigger for 2 or 3 seconds before it starts firing again. Maybe 1.5 seconds at most. But apparently, we're allowed to do good damage with this thing, which is... It's exceeding expectations. Well, there you go. I don't know about you, but that damage seems kind of puny. And I guess we've got none of that extra, bloody legendary effects kicking in and all of the adrenal reaction, but... Alright. Alright, you've impressed me thus far, Pepper Shaker. Can you keep it up? We'll see. Okay, time to kill the genetic template of Graham, and then we can all go home and not have to do Meat Week anymore. Hope you grab these. 6% chance to drop on, like, the higher spec. Also, we're in stupid dolphin power armor. I just saw it on the list and I grabbed it and immediately regretted it, but we're in too deep now. So, for me to consider using this weapon on the daily, it needs to do a couple of things. It needs to perform at an admirable level, I guess. And right now, I mean, it's not awful. It's got its utility value of being able to cripple everything, even if you look at it sideways. So that's nice. And the DPS that we're getting out of it is surprising me, to be honest. But I kind of don't want to carry around fusion cells for this character, though, because I want to just save them all for my legacy users. But another success criteria to actually, if I want to give this weapon the time of day is, well, can it, does it perform better than weapons I'm already accustomed to using? Now, that's going to be pretty hard to beat a Gauss shotgun against these super mutants, so, well, it's lost against that. But for heavy gunners, right, what could be a weapon that you could compare this to? I'm thinking something along the lines of a B-25 LMG or a B-25 Gatling Plasma. I've grown to like those weapons as I've used them. Obviously, much better pre-damage nerf, but that's okay. Everything's normalized now. Normalized to be boring. Kidding. So I'm thinking that it's got a bit of bite about it. Obviously, the the barrel spin up is a bit of a pain in the ass, but you've got that on the Gatling Plasma too. I honestly do think that the B-25 LMG would be faster, but this thing's not eating through its precious rounds super quickly. It's quite ammo efficient, I like to think. Probably wouldn't want to use anything else like for the magazine. I'll probably always go lasers. Here's another thing that I'm thinking. This thing sounds terrible. Awful. There's no punch or anything. It's just a slap. You slap yourself across the face. You clap. That's what this weapon sounds like when it fires. There's no beefy Gauss shoddy things here. Very disappointing indeed. And if that's what the gun sounds like realistically, if you're actually able to make a pepper shaker, well, change it. It's boring anyway. Alright, so Super Mutant's a little bit more hardcore than the ghouls, so I don't know how far 50 rounds will get us, but we'll have a little bit of a door defense mag dump sesh here, just to see what kind of things a pepper shaker can do with very boring and milquetoast legendary effects, eh? Sorry I can't bring you something more interesting. I am bound to RNG bullshittery rules, but once they add Fallout Worlds to like live, and you know I can transfer characters over as soon as I unlock the plan, well, that all can change. So we'll have to see how that goes in the future. I'm interested to see how I can cheese RNG to get good views on actual god rolls. I'm gonna die here. It's gonna stim pack just so I don't. God, I'm sick of hearing these ghouls, I'll tell you that much. I think there are better crowd control options out there. The mag size is definitely not lending itself to being anything great here. Like, the standard is like 5 to 10 times more than this, you know? So your sustained DPS ain't going to be good, and if you're going to use it against bosses, that damage reduction that they have is going to apply to every pellet, so you'll be doing a little bit more than fuck all to them as you are shooting them, which is not fun. Now, I could go for the legs here just to knock them over, to amuse myself by crippling them over and over. But I'd rather go for kill shots here, go high torso. Pretty disappointed in the effort by the ghouls today. That one got stuck in a door. Not even a door, just where a door sits. The housing of the doors have houses. Are you... Honestly, don't know why they're getting crippled if I haven't started shooting them yet. That's weird. It'd be funny, it'd be very humorous if it turned out that... Oh, you're stuck in a wall too, are ya? Yeah, you can hear him burning from the inside. Well, I guess we'll move on. Surprise jump scare ghoul. Alright, we're done now. Alright, let's continue this killing spree. I'm gonna give him some pepper. If I get a really good one, I'm gonna name it the Salt Shaker. Then I'm gonna illegally mod the game files to make it actually sound like it's a weapon worth shooting. So I'm just trying to snipe them from back here, getting use out of that sweet, sexy follow-through legendary perk. It hasn't gone too well. The most stealthy attuned character right now. And if I attack them from medium range, the range on this is actually quite poor. In fact, a Gauss shotgun has greater range, so I guess we're not firing these at particularly great velocity. That's kind of weird. Notice how you're firing lasers, right? But they're not laser gun impact points, they're like standard 5mm minigun impact points. There you go. And despite it having firing laser guns off, it's not making a laser gun pew pew sound. Is that intentional? Do you reckon that's intentional? Did this thing, like, they get halfway through making this thing and recording sounds in the PTS, they just thought, you know what, just give a meat week, no one will notice this. Well, guess what I did? I noticed how funky this weapon is. How funking. Yeah, it's alright, I didn't swear. You can keep my monetization on now. Anyways, have some of that thing follow through. Well, it was almost an entire mag dump. Probably would have served me better to get a little bit closer before opening fire, but that's okay, we live and learn. Now, to this thing's credit as it is, I haven't had to rely on using the crippling perks, but that might change in a second, because we've got Mirelurk kings and queens to deal with. And if you're stuck, mate, then I'm going to be laughing. I think you are stuck. Well, that's good. We can DPS him to death from back here, well, he can't get us. He can spit sonic loogies at us, but that's about it. And the same thing will probably go for the Mirelurk Queen in a second, because she's going to tank this like you wouldn't believe. It's going to be like a good old tickling with feather. You know, they used to, like, if you attacked it with a feathered tickler, well, this would be much the same, I think. And that crackhead decided to run off, and now we can kill that guy, and then that one, and... What a coward. Stand, fight the crabs. And there's me 6% chance of quick hands there. It served me well. We saved a reload there. That's less time for you to go out there and find a better pepper shaker to tell me how much of an idiot I am for not expecting a better weapon out of this, eh? I'm gonna throw a grenade over there, and we'll get big girl out. There we go, and now she's down. It'd be nice if all of your shotgun spread damage sort of tallied up. I have to assume that there's... Oh, actually, yeah, that makes sense right there. Maybe it probably adds the energy and ballistic together there. We also had follow-through active. I saw pellets hitting for 40. We're also almost a nerd rage threshold, which I'm not going to say no to a little bit more damage thanks to adrenal reaction. Okay, so on the crippling thing versus Scorch Beast, should probably use like all the time. You can definitely fire this off faster than you can and longer than you can with any shotgun in the game, combat, pump, or double barrel, obviously. So that gives it a really nice thing, and if you see one of these things in Scorched Earth, you better hope they're bloody using the Enforcer or One Gun Army perk so they can cripple the Queen and make the fight easier for everyone. And you can stall Earl by crippling both legs, which you know, stops him from running around, makes him a little bit easier to fight. He'll still spit at you, and he can still change where he's facing, but most of the time you won't have to worry about him being a threat at that point. Definitely being screwed over by the range here. We'll pop a reload here and we'll do a bit of mob duty. Come on, you bastards. Gather around. So now we've got full adrenal reaction. I could even do this. Look at this. Fastest perk changing in the West, baby. Except for when I was speaking. So Nerd Rage is active. Doing alright, I suppose. Would I call it OP? Nah. I can call it OP. Anyone calls it OP, I'll shoot him with a pepper shaker, with a soul shaker even. It doesn't seem to be more powerful than it ought to be. It's not got me questioning whether it's working as intended. I find it perfectly fine where it is. Is it underwhelming to me? No. It's kind of the opposite. It's not overwhelmingly powerful, but you know, it's doing better than I thought. I'm wasting fusion cells here. I borrowed a few off my gunslinger just to get this video going because I didn't have enough materials to craft a bunch. So we'll be giving them back, and then we'll possibly be waiting for a better drop of this. Unless you want me to keep going with the shit drops that I get, make the weapon look worse than it ought to. Oof, worst time to reload. Also, all of the problems inherent with a rotary barrel weapon are here. If the barrel is spinning, it can't stim pack. You can't reload. You have to wait until the barrel stopped. So, you know, Graham didn't install like a clutch for the barrel motor here. What a dumbass. Not only that, he doesn't have a vegan option for Meat Week. So a lot of Fallout 76 players are probably really annoyed that Meat Week is on and they can't join in the festivities. Or herbivore characters. I actually haven't tried. Well, I've seen better times to kill, but not with, I mean, it's alright. I can't really complain about it. There are weapons that are better out there, but that's generally always the case unless I've got a Gauss shotgun in my hands. Then I can say, this thing's sick. But, yeah, I'm wearing a chef's hat too. You didn't see that because it was hidden under power armor. But, yeah, it's a pepper shaker. It's instigating, not doing much. It's like, it basically stock legendary effects here. It's good. It's not overwhelmingly powerful. It's not devastatingly overpowered. It's just kind of fine. I've got no complaints. It's a little bit slow, but, you know, not all weapons are created equally, right? Are you disappointed that I didn't like it as much as you thought I would?